You know that a game has grabbed you when you're stood in someone's living room sweating over a cardboard box and getting genuinely angry at the letter Q. Because in Moving Simulator, Q wasn't just a key. It was a lifestyle choice that was being forced upon me, and my brain absolutely refused to accept it. Here's my full breakdown using the SimShack 7-pillar review system. Moving Simulator put me in first-person mode as a new moving company owner, taking jobs, negotiating the payment, buying supplies, renting trucks, packing items into boxes and bags, loading furniture, driving to the new location, and then unloading everything again and placing everything where the client wanted it. Steam even pitched it as a full pack load drive unpack loop, and it kind of is that. What I really wanted to see, if you're going to call it a moving simulator, is believable packing rules, believable handling of fragile items, sensible loading behaviour, and driving that certainly didn't feel like an arcade shopping trolley. Now, the packing side was the strongest sim part. I had weight limits to think about, containers that would tear, and I actually split a bag by overloading it on more than one occasion. That was a great sense of realism, and that part of the game actually works extremely well. I loved the fact that boxes got labelled with the room automatically. That was smart, and it felt like a proper working, moving workflow system. Carrying furniture would drain your stamina, and was also a good realism touch. I couldn't just lug a sofa around forever like I was the Incredible Hulk. But realism, well, it took hits in some of the biggest area. Driving felt horrible. It was loose. The back end would slide around far too easily. I couldn't move my view at all whilst driving. There was no proper look around, which is just mad in a driving sim. Damage barely mattered to anything. I smashed some plates and lost a bit of cash, but in general, I could drop, knock, bang and tip things over without the kind of consequences that you would expect when handling someone's valuable property. The map size was by far the biggest immersion killer. People were moving what felt like 150 meters away from where they currently live in order to get better internet. That's not moving, that's just swapping Wi-Fi signals. So the packing and lifting systems were right on track and really set the game off quite well. But the driving, lack of view options whilst you're driving, the weak damage consequences and the tiny map just stopped it feeling like a realistic sim almost immediately. So there were some strong contact sounds, boxes, straps, doors, footsteps, furniture scraping, because audio sells immersion. And while some of the sounds were genuinely nice, I specifically noticed things like the doors shutting on the van. It was sporadic and overall basic, and many of the audio files that I expected to hear just simply didn't exist. And the music, which initially I enjoyed, got in the way fast. I ended up turning it off because it was irritating me more than it was immersive. So I wanted a job loop that would make me care about prepping, packing, loading, driving and unloading and feel like I'm actually building a moving business. Whilst the first job initially pulled me in because of the negotiation phase and the ordering of bags and boxes, and then the packing loop, which was very satisfying, definitely the best part of this game, it had friction in all the right places. We're talking about weight limits, stamina, fitting things into the truck, but then the immersion got chipped away. The UI was intrusive, big blocks of info on screen, which is totally unnecessary. The controls were fighting me and you can't adjust them. Again, I'm talking about that bloody Q button. And there were quite a few bugs and weirdness things that I couldn't really explain, like levitating NPCs, some odd movement, and doors behaving rather strangely too. So the realism is not perfect. I wanted that Tetris satisfaction when loading the truck, plus jobs that escalate, and this game didn't really seem to be polished in that regard. When I was actually packing things tightly and stacking boxes and strapping things down, again, it was genuinely satisfying. Negotiating the pay for the job was a nice touch. I liked pushing the price and seeing if they'd accept it. Quite often they pushed back, which again is quite realistic. The furniture placement precision idea was an interesting one too. Placing things exactly where the client wanted would add a skill layer and you'd get better feedback as a result. The view limitation whilst driving, any driving game where you can't look left and right, absolutely awful. The awkward grab behaviour. There were two ways to pick up heavy items, one of them was drag and one of them was lift. I never really figured out what the point of the drag was, other than the fact that it was kind of uncontrollable. Now some jobs turned into Ob Job Man plus Cleaner plus Mover all in one. It's kind of funny, but it drifted away from the moving sim fantasy, which is what I was actually looking for. So whilst there are definitely elements of the game that work very well and actually were very realistic, there were huge chunks of areas where it was just missing so much. In terms of performance, well obviously we want to see stable FPS, clean controls and no physics weirdness. I was playing in 4K as I often try and do, and I did see FPS dip down from 60 to 30 and then pretty quickly head back up again. There were some bugs, some levitating people, strange movement issues and generally janky moments, but it wasn't unplayable. But equally it wasn't exactly clean and polished either. Now in terms of graphics, I wanted to see clarity more than photorealism. I need to be able to see objects in the spaces that they need to fit in, and that all has to work quite seamlessly. The game looked simple and stylized, but it looked pretty good. It worked for the genre, and I actually liked the art direction despite it being basic, because gameplay matters far more than flashy visuals, and it did not stop me from understanding what I was doing. Graphically, I think the game is exactly where it needs to be. The fundamentally moving simulator felt like a really strong idea with a surprisingly good core in terms of packing and moving goods, but it just fell short of its potential, and it did so because of some very key missing fundamentals. The driving system, everything to do with driving was pretty horrific. The lack of any sort of damage or proper fragility consequences, despite the fact that I did drop and smash a few plates and that cost me some money. A map that makes moving actually makes sense. We need to have at least, a couple of 100 kilometers to drive around in, I would say. If the devs were to tighten the controls, give us the ability to change keybinds and stuff to what we actually want, polish the UI, gave it an overhaul in that regard, expanded the world scale, make the maps much bigger, and committed to harder consequences, and of course totally redid the entire driving physics system, then I think this game could go from nearly brilliant to properly addictive. But as it is right now, it's lacking in far too many areas to be a really good game.
In a world of pixels where dreams collide, Sim UK reviews the honest guide. From racing cars to flying high, ultimate realism, take your wings to the sky. We talk about the truth and keep it real. Fact-based reviews, it's all in the field. No hype, just clarity, we break it down. Realistic simulators, the talk of the town. Real talk, Sim UK, we're here to say we keep it smooth, never lead you astray. News and previews and interviews on site. Set up guides to take your game to new heights. Honesty is the best policy, they say. Always tell the truth in every way. Yeah. From the cockpit view to the racetrack lanes, we dive deep into the code, explore the veins. Ultimate simulations that make you feel alive. Realistic graphics, man, we help you thrive. Each guide is crafted with love and care. No false impressions, just a breath of fresh air. Whether you're a newbie or a seasoned pro, Sim UK Reviews is the way to go. Real talk, Sim UK, we're here to say we keep it smooth, never lead you astray. Losing previews to Tobios on site. Set up guides to take your game to new heights. Honesty is the best policy, they say. Always tell the truth in every way. Yeah, we're diving in, no shortcuts here. Honest updates, that's what you'll hear. Simulations that sparkle, realism that shines. With every review, you'll know what's divine. From the mechanics to the sound of the game, Sim UK's the name. Remember the fame, we won't steer you wrong. We keep it tight, sharing knowledge in the day and the night. Yeah, got set up guides to make it a breeze. The reviews that unlock with the greatest of ease. Fact-based reviews taking the forefront. Realistic simulation, we always confront. The challenge is real, embrace what you find. Sim UK Reviews just leaves you enlightened. No fluff, just facts, that's our creed. Bringing you the truth, that's how we lead. So come along with us, join the ride. Sim UK Reviews, your truth by your side. With every honest word, you'll capture the thrill. Ultimate realism, the peak of the hill. From flying high to racing fast. Sim UK Reviews, your knowledge will last. Together we can explore, uncover and learn. Realistic simulation, it's our turn. Yeah.